The Lone Wanderer, their father, and Dr. Lee's team arrive at the Jefferson Memorial and tries to bring everything back online just in time for the Enclave, the villains of Fallout 2, to make their presence known. Their leader, Colonel Autumn, confronts the Lone Wanderer's father, demanding he use the purifier for him. The Lone Wanderer's father, in turn,
Run!
well, he may have had to sacrifice himself to do it, but Liam Neeson is killing people in this scene. No CinemaSin here. The Lone Wanderer leads Lee and the remaining scientists out of the Jefferson Memorial through the sewers, because of course there's a sewer level, and take refuge at the Pentagon, now being used as a base of operations by the Brotherhood of Steel. And unlike the Brotherhood charter of the earlier games, they're surprisingly willing to let outsiders in. Elder Lyons, the man in charge, is rather practical, accepting outside help unlike his peers. Lyons lets you search the information on all known vaults in the Capital Wasteland in hopes of finding a device known as the GECK to get the purifier working properly. Enclave, GECK, two things from Fallout 2 making an appearance here. Not to mention going on a wild goose chase looking for something very specific is kind of what kicked off the plot of the first game. Interesting. So the Lone Wanderer learns that Vault 87 has a GECK, but before they can deal with that, there's the matter of Vault 101, which is now under lockdown and the youth is rebelling against the Overseer. It's about time. So you can deal with the crisis, potentially either stopping the rebellion, or convincing the Overseer to step down, making Amada the new leader of Vault 101.
Still many who blame you for everything that happened. So I have to ask you to leave. I'm sorry, but the situation is just too delicate for you to stay. Please, if you really want to help the Vault, you have to go.
Because the Overseer of Vault 13 reluctantly exiled the protagonist of the first game, so of course it happens here too. The Lone Wanderer arrives at the caverns leading to Vault 87, which is where a bunch of adult-hating kids have set up shop. So the kids next door have survived past the apocalypse. Of course they did. After rescuing some of their friends from a slaver camp, they let the Lone Wanderer pass into the vault. And it's here where we find out why there are supermutants in the Capital Wasteland in the first place. Apparently a sample of the FEV was put in this vault. Still arbitrary since the supermutants' presence isn't a major plot point, but still better than the generic raiders. Along the way, the Lone Wanderer meets a civil supermutant named Fox, who is willing to enter an irradiate chamber to get the GECK for the player. Remember this, it'll be kind of important in a bit. The Lone Wanderer is about to leave the vault when they are ambushed by the Enclave, led by... Autumn?
You're certain he's unharmed?
Yes, sir.
I think the real question is how you are unharmed. Yeah, looking closely at that earlier scene at the Purifier, one can see Autumn is injecting himself with something, but how do you get past the air-pressured sealed door? The Lone Wanderer is taken to the Enclave's lair where they meet President Eden, who turns out to be a supercomputer, who wants you to add the FEV virus to the Purifier, which will kill anyone exposed to radiation, i.e. everyone in the wasteland.
Please recognize that the fate of our entire country rests on this plan. Sacrifices must be made for the greater good.
Yeah, I mean, you were willing to sacrifice the whole planet to see your family again. Definitely speaking from experience, Mr. President. And keeping with the tradition, starting with the Master in the first game and continued with a number of characters in New Vegas, Eden can be talked out of his evil plan, even convincing him he's not worthy of being president, and self-destructing, taking the Enclave's base with him. But that still leaves Autumn. The Lone Wanderer returns to the Brotherhood, who are planning to put a stop to the Enclave once and for all, using a giant robot they recovered, Liberty Prime.
Composition: titanium alloy supplemented by photonic resonance barrier. Probability of mission hindrance: 0%.
Yeah, nothing's stopping this thing. You can pretty much just follow behind it without needing to fire on a single Enclave trooper. So the Lone Wanderer and Lion's daughter Sarah confront Autumn and have either an extremely easy one-hit kill battle against him, or you can talk him onto using the Purifier. And then, as if this game hasn't kicked the Lone Wanderer while they're down enough already, this happens.
If I'm reading this right, I'm afraid there are lethal levels of radiation inside the chamber. I'm sorry, I wish there was some other way, but there's just no time. It has to be done now, or the damage would be catastrophic.
Yep, someone has to sacrifice themselves Spock style. But here comes the most controversial part about this ending, if not the whole game. Either you do it, or you make Sarah do it, all while having the most crass response possible, and then the epilogue calls you a coward. Remember Falks? And the circumstances where you met him involved getting the GECK for you in an irradiated chamber? Yeah, he won't do it here. Bethesda actually had to release a DLC that alters the ending so Fox will go into the chamber so no one has to die. Of course, the very same DLC added a post-epilogue questline, starting with the Lone Wanderer waking up from a 2-week coma, even if they were the one who activated the purifier.
Let me just put it this way. If you thought it was bad when Mass Effect 3 needed to have a DLC to fix its terrible ending... Okay, admittedly, this one probably isn't as bad as that case, but you kind of see the problem here.
Fallout 3's use of the VAT system that lets players auto-target opponents is very helpful for new players, and it's very memorable with its locations and sound design. That said, it has its problems, as many can attest. The heavy focus on combat limits the options of how you can handle quests, which did not please longtime fans. Something else you'll pick up on is that I skipped over a lot of quests, but that's because almost all of them are self-contained and incidental to the main storyline. And that brings me to the karma system in this game. You can be good or evil, but why would you want to be evil when there's no benefit whatsoever? Remember the bomb in the center of Megaton? Well, the town sheriff, Lucas Sims, hires you to disarm it in one quest, but you are also approached by a man named Mr. Burke, who hires you to detonate it, killing everyone in the town for no reason. And going along with Eden's plan to poison the water supply? Yeah, that'll kill the Lone Wanderer too, since they were born in the wasteland. Yet tons of players apparently miss this fact despite it being confirmed by several others. Sure, it allows the players to do whatever the heck they feel like, but again, the evil options give us no benefits for picking them.
I'm sorry to say this, but Dark Helmet was wrong. Evil is dumb.
Now, in terms of the free-roaming nature of this game, that was Bethesda's intention, and it works. Hence why 3Dog is pretty much the only person in the game that even acknowledges your good or evil deeds, and why the main quests and side quests have no impact on one another. So much that when it came to New Vegas' events from the first 2 games were touched on, but events here were almost non-existent. And with the obvious exceptions of Liam Neeson and Malcolm McDowell, as well as a few others, the voice acting is really nothing to write home about. Sorry, Paul Eiding, I liked your performance as Perceptor in the original Transformers, but your wily old prospector voice for every single old man in the game got old fast. But of course, 2-dimensional characters and the simple finding a lost father plot was probably intentional since the Lone Wanderer is pretty much the only important character in the game, which might actually explain the whole Fox debacle with the ending. Companion characters just are not important in Bethesda's eyes, except for support and combat, and thus they cannot impact the plot even when they should. And on the subject of the Lone Wanderer, well, credit where credit is due. Unlike, say, the Dragonborn, the Lone Wanderer felt like I could make into an actual character, hence why I liked the prologue in Vault 101 so much. That way I don't feel like I'm just playing a blank slate like I did in Skyrim.
Now don't mistake my words for malice. I liked Fallout 3. For all intents and purposes, though, it's an open-ended sandbox game first, and a Fallout game second. New Vegas was closer to what older fans wanted, but it alienated certain people who got into the series thanks to this game. So in other words, there's no pleasing anybody. That certainly fills the developers with confidence for Fallout 4 now, don't it?
Of me